Alright, so I'm just sort of bored. Not really. It's snowing, which is fascinating to me because I'm from Arizona. And it hasn't snowed. And the last time it snowed was last time it snowed in Tucson, where I was at, was in 2023 on March 2nd. But it was all gone by the end of the day. I got a thing of snow dumped down my shirt, though. But I deserved it. I did it to the other person first. Nonetheless, I've been sort of continuing on the whole Doomerism thing. And it's interesting how it's actually turned out, because I was thinking about it in relation to Columbine and the possible connection there. There's no direct connection, but there is an exact lineage one can trace Doomerism to Columbine with, and even before that, actually, because the whole thing is that this is supposed to be stemming from the article Tomorrow is Different, but it's still the same, which goes all the way back to the 60s, so I did take it all the way back to the 60s, at least for now. The idea in total, though, would be to connect it all the way back to 1945 and say that, you know, maybe the Second World War never ended. Still gotta work that out somehow. I mean, I know the obvious route I could take, but I don't care to do that. Charles Manson already did that. You know, because I was thinking about using because there's a bit where he was talking about it. He's like, the Second World War never ended. You know what, I'm just gonna put it right here, because why?
Say, well, the Jews are the chosen children of God, and these Germans are no good because their forefathers fought. No. The Germans are no worse than the Jews, and the blacks are no worse than the Mexicans, and the Mexicans are no worse than the Filipinos, and the Filipinos are no worse than the Chinese. So how do you reach a one with that whole circle? How do you reach a one with that whole circle? How do you have peace on this earth? You can't have peace on this earth unless you let Second World War die. You want to keep the Second World War going? You want to keep selling and buying Germans and dead Indians on TV every day? You know, that's got to stop. The Second World War's got to stop. And it's got to stop in the Jews. The Jews won't let the Second World War stop. They keep the Second World War going. They keep it going. They keep it going. They keep perpetuating it because they're making money. As soon as the Second World War was over, they never stopped the brainwash. The brainwash that they were selling the American public was making money. You see what I'm saying? They were making money. They're not going to stop making money. If the combination's there to make money, they're going to keep selling it. They'll sell it all the way till I'm in the cell with a guy named Millman, Jerry Millman. And he's got pictures of Hitler and Japanese and things all. I said, boy, Hitler must have been a hell of a guy. He said, Hitler was terrible. I hate him. I hate him. I said, why do you hate him? He said, I'm a Jew. I said, well, why do you enshrine this guy? Is he your daddy? And he looked up to his mother's fear. And his mother's fear was Hitler. Hitler was like his father figure. He loved Hitler, but he hated Hitler. He needed Hitler to hold him up, because Hitler was holding his hate up, because without his hate, he didn't exist. He didn't have no reason to live unless he had some hate. He didn't have any reason to buy and sell unless the money held him up. If you took the money away from him, you took the hate away from him, he'd be gone. So how do you communicate to a whole group of people? You stand up and you take the worst fear symbol there is and say, there, now I've got your fear. Now I've got your fear.
So anyway, yeah, that's Charles Manson on why the Second World War never really ended. And that just seems so, I guess, average for this day, that it's not really that much of an enthralling point to make, at least from that perspective of it. Even though it's not exactly an incorrect perspective. I mean, just listen to Benjamin Netanyahu talk. It's more... I think that there's more of an aesthetic quality to these things, which... I guess... Okay. In a sense, it works like that. So Hitler and the Nazis deemed certain art movements, like the Dadaists, Entarte Kunst, which means degenerate art. Now, fast forward to around 1984 to 2004, there was an art movement called the Aesthetic Terrorists, which, it's funny, I'm in the basement of one of the more prolific characters of that whole epoch right now. Anyway, it's like, so the Aesthetic Terrorists arose out of the perceived failings of the hippies and the 60s counterculture generation, flower power, which they believed really didn't do much of anything because of their peace and love bullshit, essentially. Which birthed this more cynical, nihilistic streak of countercultural art, and really it did start in the 60s too, though, because with the advent of the Church of Satan and the Weather Underground managing to get bombs into the Pentagon and other such genuine radical activism and actions and thought being put into things, like read Prairie Fire, which is the official publication of the Weather Underground. It's radical as fuck. Like how that's like there was a trend in banning the book Might Is Right. Yeah, there's also there's a good reason Malcolm X isn't as profiled as Martin Luther King in these areas, because I guess a peaceful objector does more than a radical revolutionary. And also, it would seem because Malcolm X was not in line with the... How do I put it without my phone exploding? Without the Israeli stuff. Anyway, I'm trying to say that so nicely, but why not? I can just be anti-Semitic if I want, because it's not anti-Semitic, because Semite refers to Arabs and those people too, and in this it would just be in regards to the Jews. Anyway, so from that sort of counterculture, this more harsh, realistic rather than idealistic generation of artists came out, from, it could have been something as, there's direct... I lost my train of thought trying to think of something to say that didn't seem completely anti-Semitic, but I don't care at the same time. I'm fine with being anti-Semitic. Anyway, it's like, what was I gonna say? Anti-Semitism has got my mind all up in a tangle. Maybe I should... Oh, fuck, there's no more of that left. There probably is somewhere. Shane probably hit it. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. But anyway, it was like, so there's a lineage for this sort of, harsh, more realistic, I guess, almost brutal outlook on things, because... I mean, what did the hippies do? They sat around in circles and flower power. They did LSD, smoking weed, which, fine. The aesthetic terrorists also smoked weed and did LSD, but they didn't just sit around exactly. Look up any of the Church of Euthanasia's demonstrations. I mean, people were literally jailed for comics. Shit was actually obscene in a way that was unprecedented prior in the realm of art. Though, there's some precursors like burlesque and Marquis de Sade and Salvador Dali, but it's not, there's a very, very good differentiation between, something made by Andy Warhol and, the cover of or some reprint of Might is Right, be it, one that Shane did or one that Nine Banded Books did. Though the latter preceded the former in doing that. But anyway, it's like that whole scene of more nihilative and bombastically cynical publications and creations did bleed out onto the wild west of the early internet, really sort of laying the groundwork. I mean, that, like, you can trace it. Like, if you watch something like what's referred to as the golden era of YouTube or something, like if you watch old items content and like content cops and that stuff, and compare it with this sort of in-your-face, what the fuck cynicism and misanthropy of something like Answer Me, or Might Is, not Might Is Right, Answer Me most definitely, or Boiled Angel, both of which Shane kept in publication while Mike Diana was going through his legal trouble for simply making comics, and Goad got arrested for, as he terms it, beating a bitch back. What the actual scenario was, I don't know. I've never talked to the woman. Or Goad. Though, he did sign a copy of Answer Me for me, though. Whatever. It's like, so, it reconfigured itself onto the internet, and, direct result, the hipster came into being, and, in accordance with the whole, I guess, Mark Fisher idea of lost futures and hauntology, Doomerism sort of came right in line, because Doomerism is, in essence, a passive, accepting fatalistic nihilism, wherein the means of its concept is merely denunciation, adding to the apparatus it despises or claims to. Sort of a slow suicide in the face of lost futures, failed promises, probably a false origin anyway, but they promised us forever, we got less, to put it succinctly, I guess. I'm somewhat reading off of something while I do this, but anyway, yeah.